Good evening, listeners, and welcome to the Dark Waters channel. Tonight, we delve into the enigmatic world of the unknown and the unexplained. Joining us in this captivating journey are the seasoned Bigfoot field investigators from the Woodwalkers team, Spencer, Misty, and Greg. With over 5 years of experience under their belts, they've traversed the hidden paths and untamed wilderness in pursuit of the elusive Bigfoot. These intrepid explorers not only brave the wilds, but also share their adventures on their YouTube channel, Woodwalkers, with a Z-E. Their expertise doesn't end there. You can also connect with them on Facebook under the same intriguing name. But that's not all. This year marks a milestone for the Woodwalkers team. They are orchestrating their first ever LBL meetup. Picture this. Hundreds of cryptid investigators just like you and me descending upon the mysterious land between the lakes. Together, we will scour these enigmatic lands in search of Bigfoot and Dogman, hoping to unravel the secrets they hold. So, to all you cryptid enthusiasts and thrill seekers out there, this is an invitation you cannot miss. I urge you, head over to the Woodwalkers channel, subscribe, support, and be part of this extraordinary journey into the unknown. Stay tuned as we bring you another night of mystery and discovery here on the Dark Waters channel. Do things seem off? Trouble sleeping? Issues in your marriage, finances, or with extended family and friends? These are challenges that many men face, but you don't have to face them alone. The Men of Steel prayer group is here for you. We are a fellowship of individuals who share a common interest in the paranormal and cryptid fields, united in our quest for understanding the supernatural. Our goal is to educate and guide those curious or seeking insight into the supernatural, emphasizing the role of Jesus Christ as the supreme authority over the supernatural realm. Visit us at strongmenpraying.com to learn more. The Men of Steel prayer group, where faith and curiosity forge a stronger spirit.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's the one and only James Williams Dog Waters, the proprietor of IamDogwaters.com, HuntDogman.com, the Dog Waters channel, Dog Waters Radio. I mean, I think you guys know me by now. Maybe some of you guys are new. You don't know me, but I'm glad that you decided to join me. This is the first quarter of the year, and during the first quarter of the year, I always go through an interview run, and I'm excited about it because we're touching on Bigfoot. One of the subjects that I don't really get a lot into, but I'm finding it more and more interesting. When it comes to Dogman, we've talked about and been through and done everything we can on Dogman. So I'm excited about it. And I'm even more excited about having some time to spend with my friends from Woodwalkers channel, Misty, Spencer, and Greg. Awesome people. You're going to love them. And before we even get started, I'm telling you, go on your computer, pause me, type up on your phone, Woodwalkers, and hit the subscribe button because they're phenomenal. Really, really cool people. Good conversation. I just recently did an interview with them, and it was awesome hanging out with them. And you guys know when I recommend somebody to you, I'm recommending somebody that's good. I ain't recommending a jerk off that's going to sit there and start drama and act crazy. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, from the Dog Waters channel, I'm introducing the Woodwalkers crew. Greg, Spencer, Misty, how are you guys doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good, man.
Oh,
Yeah, good. Awesome. Thanks for having us on.
Oh, man, I'm happy to have you guys on. You guys are awesome. You guys are cool. All right, guys. So let's sit back, relax, enjoy. We're going to have some fun. It's actually 4 people, so it's going to be a little bit of a challenge, but we're going to do this the way that I like to do it, and it's always amazing. So I'm going to put out a question to you guys, and if you feel comfortable answering it, I mean, go for it. What I like to do is rewind people's lives, right? So, for example, for me, if I was to rewind to I was a kid, I can honestly say there's no way you could have told that younger high school version of me that I would be sitting here talking about monsters. No way. You couldn't have told that guy back then that this is what we're going to talk about. When you look back over your life, if you were to go back to when you were an early teenager, did you have an interest in this stuff? Could you confidently say, hey, you know, I've been interested in this since I was a kid? Any of you?
Yeah.
I had interest in it, but that was about it. I thought monsters was something, you know, as far as Bigfoot, I thought that was out there in Colorado or Oregon or Washington State somewhere. I never thought it'd be where I live.
I didn't even think Bigfoot was real.
What about you, Misty?
I didn't believe in Bigfoot, but I've always believed in weird stuff, weird experiences, ghosts mostly.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's how it is with most people. There's stories either there was a belief system in place that was previously there, or there was no belief system. And you'll find that in this field, when you find creators, they come from one side or the other, but it's a place where everybody meets. The field is kind of like it's kind of like a field hospital on a battlefield. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's coming in and talking, and some people have more other problems and some people have more advanced problems, but you find yourself in this environment where everybody has this one thing in common. They've come to the realization that things that go bump in the night are real. So let's go here. I'll pick you for this one, Spencer. When did you come to the realization that the things that go bump in the night are actually real?
I started getting into it about 8 years ago, but probably right around 6.5, 7 years ago at the first meet and greet I got invited to. Man, shit got crazy. And I walked away going, I had already started seeing some stuff on my own, but at that, I walked away knowing that there was something there. I didn't lay eyes on it, but all the stuff that happened, I mean, it kind of rattled me, to be honest. And I knew, I mean, there was no denying it after that.
Wow. And where was that meet and greet at?
It was in Daniel Boone National Forest.
Oh, hell.
It was it was a meet and greet with the Bigfoot Outlaws. I got lucky. I was like the only outside person there. And we just had all kinds of stuff pop off, everything from trees being knocked over to vocalizations, stuff being thrown at us. And probably the weirdest part of it was whenever we were, one of the nights that we were there, whenever we were up there, there was this graveyard that they wanted to go to. And in the back of my head, I was thinking the whole time, I was like, man, are they trying to punk me? You know, like going to a graveyard, like I'm supposed to be creeped out about going to a graveyard. And one of the guys, Eric Tipton, he did a call, him and Kay Michael, they did a call. There was probably 8 or 9 of us there. And we got a vocalization, we got tree pushed over, branches broke, stuff started being thrown at us. But the weirdest part was, I guess I just never experienced anything like it before, but it was like static electricity. You could feel like someone hit a switch. When this thing came in, everything got quiet. There was a buzz in the air. All the hair stood up, like on your arms and the back of your neck and everything. And that's whenever all the stuff started happening with things being thrown at us and everything. And then there was this distant, like, growl scream thing. And then whenever it left, it drew back. And again, it was like somebody turned a switch on. You could physically feel it. It was something tangible in the air. And then everything went back to normal. And, man, so much stuff happened that weekend. It unconditionally changed the way I looked at it.
Wow. And you know, Daniel Boone National Forest is the place for cryptid encounters. People talk about LBL, they talk about all these other places. That's the spot. I mean, that's the danger zone. It really, really is. And it doesn't get the amount of attention that it should, in my opinion. It's kind of like LBL is marketable and it's easy access. So everybody says, I'm going to LBL. Nah, if you want to get kidnapped, beat up, eaten, go to Daniel Boone National Forest. That's where you go. What about you, Misty? I know your perspective is different. When did you realize things went bump in the night? Because I know you started having freaky supernatural stuff as a kid, right?
I did. I was probably 4 or 5, I guess, as early as I can remember. I've had all kinds of weird stuff go on. I've seen stuff, experienced it, heard stuff, dream weird stuff, and it happens. But now going to what he was talking about, though, my meet and greet that I went to, the first time I ever went to Daniel Boone, is the first time I actually met Greg. And I had something come up behind my tent. And the very next morning, we found tracks back there, 2 different sets. Now, this is cold weather. Something came up and could hear me rummaging around like I was looking for my flashlight and my gun. And it's like it knew that I was awake. And it got mad and it like huffed. And then you could hear it walking off and going over to the next tent, over to where some of our other buddies was sleeping. The next morning we got up and there was tracks right back behind my tent. It was crazy. So yeah, there's definitely weird stuff that goes on there.
Wow, that's insane. What about you, Greg? I know you've had all kinds of encounters. When was the very first time that it synced in? Hey man, this is weird stuff, but this might be Bigfoot. This might be real monsters.
Man, when it first started, it was just, I got into this sheer by accident. I wasn't looking for them. I was just living my life as a just old redneck here where I live, and doing things that us rednecks do, hunting and fishing and stuff. And I started hunting on a piece of property that one of my cousins owned, and took a bulldozer in there, and my dad owned a dozer, and I cleared some green fields to hunt on. Cleared 2 of them on a parcel of land. It was surrounded by national forest land, but he owned 40 acres and private land in there. Well, it had been logged several years previous and had grown up in just a jungle. Well, I cleared two clearings and put up some tree stands, and then we got ready to hunt. Seeing a lot of deer sign, nothing out of the ordinary. Hadn't saw anything, nothing. Well, the very first time I hunted that, down below the field where I was at, probably 20 yards out of the field was only 80 yards long, so 110 yards or so from me, right at dark, something goes to popping a tree. It hit a tree. And I mean a tree knock. It sounded like a high-powered rifle going off. It sounded like lumber was splintering when it would hit. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. I really thought somebody was poaching. Had come in there and was mad about us hunting that area and was just trying to basically to harass us. Came out and we went on down the dead end road. I thought, well, I'm going to catch who this is. Nobody was there. Well, then on out through that season, we would have stuff walk around the field. We would hear a lot of whoops, like WHOOP, whoop. And I couldn't figure out. I really thought it was somebody, like Spencer said, punking me. I thought, it's somebody harassing us, and it kept going. And we'd hear whistles and whoops and tree knocks. The first year, that was about it. Well, then after that, the next year, it got a little worse. These things got to where they would come in, they would do all that, but they got to where they would follow you out. They would follow us, like when you'd come out of the stand, they would follow you out, and when you'd walk, they'd walk. When you stopped, they'd stop. And then it just progressed worse and worse and worse, and it got into where they would bluff charges. They would throw stuff at us. I'd be on a tree stand with a high-powered rifle and a .357 Magnum handgun, and something's walking around bipedal, but it wouldn't come out of the thicket where you could see it. But it would start throwing rocks at us. It would throw hickory nuts at us. It'd throw sticks at us. And then they got to where they would scream and roar, and just a multitude of things that went on. But I hadn't saw one. I couldn't lay eyes on it. It took about 9 years before I ever laid eyes on one. And then when I saw one, all doubt was gone. I mean, I was totally puzzled and perplexed. I knew by researching, just looking for an answer what it was, I'd put it together that that's all this can be. But until I finally saw one with my own eyes, and the one I saw was in broad daylight, there was no mistaking what I saw. And the figure that I saw was over 8 feet tall, probably closer to 8.5 feet tall, 4 feet wide and 2 feet thick. And it was absolutely massive. But that's how I got roped into all this.
Wow. So let me ask you guys this question. Anybody can take this one. What do you guys think they are? Because there's always this debate about what Bigfoot is and what these what do you think they are?
Nothing natural.
Misty.
I mean, I don't think so. I think they're flesh and blood, but I don't think that's all they are. They've got too many abilities that people claim that they can do to be just something.
Just be flesh and blood.
Flesh and blood, yes, sir.
Yeah, I agree.
I know here's my thoughts on it. I think Misty's nail on the head because what I saw looked flesh and blood creature wise. I do know they undoubtedly eat meat because I've had in the last 11 or so years, I've had 6 deer stolen, and apparently they're eating the things. They will steal your game. Where I live, if you kill a deer, walk to it, touch it, lay hands on it, it's dead. You leave it, stay gone 10 minutes to get a vehicle to get it out. When you come back, it's probably not going to be there. So, but I've also seen the way they move that defies physics. I mean, I watched a creature that I'm guessing weighed over 800 pounds at least. I saw this thing move that there's no Olympic sprinter could even think about staying up with it. I mean, I've never seen an animal or anything for that matter, flesh and blood, that could move like what I saw move. And I've had them do some other things that defied logic, where they came up to a opening. I could hear it coming. I could see the trees moving. And this thing walked up, and I was waiting on it. I didn't blink. I was staring directly at an opening. And somehow this thing, it was big enough to break tree limbs, and I could hear it bipedal walking. Within about 30, 35 yards, it walked up and crossed basically a trail and jumped from one side to the other. It was a thicket up, and it crossed a 6 or 8 foot opening, and I never saw anything. There was no figure cross that road, but I heard it coming, and it got quiet, and then the sound picked up on the exact opposite side and continued on. I can't explain that. Whatever crossed that road, I couldn't see. So they do. I'm with Misty 100%. Whatever it is, I think it's flesh and blood, but they've got some abilities that I don't understand. I don't know how science can explain it.
Wow. What about you, Spencer? Where do you stand on it?
Probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, I would have said 100%. I think that they are flesh and blood. I saw nothing to make me think that they were anything other than that. I still believe that they are a physical creature. I think that they are flesh and blood. Like Greg said, I'm fairly well convinced that they hunt game, they leave tracks. Me personally, I know that they manipulate tree structure and stuff like that. I've heard them vocalize, all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, within the past couple of years, it's a culminating effect of what I've experienced throughout the whole time. But I've seen some weird stuff here in the past couple of years that just makes me, everything from the battery drainage to the kind of shadow figure movement thing to the whole one time, I got growled at. I don't know any other way to say it. I got growled at, and it was close. And I looked over, and man, I'm telling you, I could see. I mean, there was not enough coverage for something that close to hide from me, but there was nothing there. And just too many anomalies like that. And now I'm really leaning towards that I think that they're flesh and blood, but I think that they have abilities that we do not understand. And I definitely am starting to think that there's something, some kind of supernatural aspect to it.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys, help me understand something, because I'm not as abreast on Bigfoot as I am on probably any other cryptid. The narrative of whether they're flesh and blood or not, why is that such a passionate thing in the Bigfoot community? It's such a divisive issue. Why, though, is it a divisive issue? And you guys know where it started? Where does it stem from? Can you educate me on that? Because I don't understand it. Because it's almost like it doesn't have to be one thing. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be classified as one thing. But it seems like there's a contention around whether it's flesh or blood or not. And I don't understand where it comes from. Like, I don't understand how it started. I don't understand what the origins are. I don't even understand the significance of it, because it's clearly some flesh and blood, because you get footprints, you got hair samples, you got evidence where it broke trees. To me, that's like mystery solved. What the hell is all the rest of this crap that it's able to do on this side? You know, it's clear that it's something that's flesh and blood. So does it have special abilities or what? Can you guys educate me on where that started and where it came from? Because I don't get it.
I think that's why people think that, because they've never had an experience that shows them otherwise, you know, that it does have some kind of abilities. And the reason I say that is because I'm a fence rider. I am skeptic. I don't care. I have never seen one face to face. I've had a lot of experiences, but I've never just flat out, I've seen a shadow at Greg's house, something huge moving. I've seen shadows everywhere. But I will say that I have never had what they actually call like getting zapped or whatever, until I was at Greg's. And it was the first time that I had went to his house, and I said, Greg, I want the scariest room there is. And he was like, oh, go in that one. He was like, they'll smack the wall and everything. I said, okay, well, I claim that. That's my room. So first night I'm there and I'm sleeping, I get woke up with what, the best way I can describe it is it's almost like a mosquito standing on my eardrum. And it's just this hum, and it's so loud and it's so sharp of a sound. My head literally feels like it's shaking back and forth off my pillow, like raising on its own. I can't control it. I can't go to bed. I can't sit up hardly. I can't do anything. Greg's sleeping in the recliner across from me in the other room. And I yell at him and I'm like, Greg, and never could get him to wake up. And I'm like, okay. And so I literally said, I get it. I know you're here, because that was the first thing I said before I went to bed. I was like, come on. You know, people say they can mind speak. I don't know. But I said, if you can hear me, you know, it'd kind of be nice if you'd smack the wall or do something, let me know that you're here. Well, that's how I got woke up. And I said, I'm scared. I know you're here. That's good. Will you please stop? This is scaring me. And as soon as I said that, I didn't pray or anything, just asked it to stop. And it just went away. Well, the very next time that I went to Greg's, I slept in that same room again. I didn't get woke up that way, but I got woke up to the bed shaking. It was like it knew who I was. I know that sounds crazy, but it shook the bed instead of shaking me. I guess if that makes any sense. Like I literally got woke up because I was like, do they have earthquakes? What's going on here? And I'm hollering at my Aunt Donna, who's in the other room this time. And I'm like, Donna, are you feeling anything? She's like, what are you talking about? And my whole bed is shaking. I said, well, there's nothing going on in here. And as soon as I woke her up, it stopped. So I firmly believe that they have other abilities as far as being able to read your thoughts or manipulate what goes on. If that's what it was. I'm not saying it's a Bigfoot. I'm just saying whatever it was, it knew.
Yeah. Let me add my thoughts on this is I think a lot of it, the reason that you got two big groups of the people that believe in the supernatural aspect of it and the people that are just total flesh and blood. And like you said, it's like a line in the sand that this group won't cross. And, it's more to me, it's kind of the mystery cloud of this to keep people divided, to keep everybody divided. And that way, because if we had everybody on the same page, I think there would be a whole lot more to learn. I think that if people would be open-minded, and look, I was the guy that didn't believe in it at all, really. I mean, I was kind of had a thought, well, okay, there's a lot of witnesses, but all this is out west. It's Colorado and out there. I'm down here in the southeast. I'm in the heart of Dixie. That's 1,500, 1,800 miles from me. And I was the guy. I was the hunter. My dad was dragging me to the deer woods at 4 years old. I killed my first deer at 5. We commercial fished. We hunted. Any kind of hunting that could be done in the South, I've done it. I grew up, my daddy was an avid outdoorsman. I've spent my whole life in the woods. I'm that guy because I hear the guys go, oh, I've been in the woods my whole life and I've never seen anything, never heard anything. Well, I was that guy. I was that exact dude till all this fell in my lap. Well, it was hard enough for me to realize that, okay, there's a flesh and blood monster running around in the woods. This thing is gigantic and it's real. That thing's out here stomping around in the weeds. Well, then once you finally start seeing what I've actually witnessed, you start realizing that there's another aspect to this. And I'll tell people that I believe this. Well, it's the only thing I can believe because I've saw so much happen everybody is a human to me. We like to have our little square box. And we look at everything. We got to focus on this box because there's so much going on, and it just makes life easier to fit it all organized in this box in layers. When you've got too much stuff that you can't cram in that box, or that box don't have a slot to put that in, well, instead of keep trying to figure out a way to put it in there, it's a whole lot easier to say, well, we'll just throw that out of the box and we'll eliminate that. So I think that's a lot of it, because you got the people that don't believe in spiritual stuff. You got the people that don't believe in ghosts, extraterrestrials, whatever. I don't know. I've never seen orbs. I've never seen a UFO. The little green men, I ain't there. I hope don't see them. It's been hard enough for me just realizing, even though I've seen these things, I've seen them, I've dealt with them over and over and over for years. I mean, we're talking about 23 years worth of this. I've had to put up with it. And it's still, for my little box, I mean, that thing's full. It's hard for me to pack all this in that box. But I did realize that I can't just say, well, I don't believe in that. I need to look at and think about what I witnessed and how does that fit? Well, okay, well, maybe my little box down here where it's so easy to manage and me to mentally accept it, maybe my box has got to get a little bit bigger, that I need more room in that box instead of just saying, well, I don't have room, let's don't load it on. And I think that's the main thing. And then, again, people, fear. Fear is the main driver in this, because people are scared of the unknown. And when they finally start, accepting that there's things that we don't know, that drives fear wide open. And people are so afraid they have to, well, we don't want to think about it. We don't want to think about it. How many things during the daytime do you have that's bothering you or worrying you or whatever? The easiest way to handle that a lot of times, so it gets finally to where you have to deal with it, is let's discard it. Let's don't worry about it. Let's put it way back over here. And if we don't talk about it, we refuse to acknowledge it, it's kind of gone away. Well, it really didn't go away. You're just ignoring it. And I think that's more not really a disbelief in it. I think it's let's ignore it and we don't have to deal with it. And that's just this old redneck's take on it. Is that's the way I feel. It's like, let's ignore it. We don't have to deal with it.
Nah, that makes sense. What about you, Spencer? You've been in it for a while. I know you've seen the debates and the discussions. Do you know where it originated at? Like how it got started?
I don't know. I can surmise, but in my opinion, I think it's a little bit more simple than a lot of that. I think it's a very human notion. I think that number one, people don't like paradigm shifts. People don't like to go outside their comfort zone. So first of all, just accepting that Bigfoot is real means that you have to accept that there might be other stuff. That's hard enough on its own. Whenever you accept that Bigfoot is real, we have a lot of people that are hell-bent on trying to prove that Bigfoot is real. And I think whenever you're going to try and prove it, if you look at the Bigfoot community as a whole, you see a lot of people talking about the scientific method. And, everything has to be done scientifically and gathered scientifically and collected and organized that way. And the whole, whatever this other aspect of the subject is, that does not fit into the scientific world. The scientific world doesn't even admit that Bigfoot exists right now. So to go out even further and say, not only are boogers real, but there are possibly some supernatural stuff going on with it, that's just way, way too much for a lot of people to accept. And I think that the other part of this, and I think that this is a very big part in the past several years of doing this now, if you get around the people that actually live around these things or have been doing this kind of stuff for years and really looking into this, going out looking for these, had a good amount of experience, most of them are the people that will tell you there is a really weird side to this stuff, an unexplainable side, supernatural, woo, whatever you want to call it, that this aspect is a very real thing, versus the probably, let's say 75 to 80% of what fills up the Bigfoot world as far as sightings and everything, which might be this guy was coming home at night at 1 a.m. in the morning and saw something walk across the street. Okay, well, that's a Bigfoot sighting. It was a flesh and blood thing, walked across the street, car headlights hit it and everything. You know, they're not out there in the woods looking for these things and getting the batteries drained or the possible mind speak or the time loss or the being zapped with infrasound, all that kind of stuff. So I think it's a conglomeration of all that stuff. But I think the underlying basic thing is that Bigfoot is hard enough to accept, just it being there without adding this other element. And until people really start experiencing it firsthand, they're very reluctant to wade into those waters, those dark waters.
What I find interesting is last first quarter when I went through the interview run and I started pulling people from the Bigfoot world, and I pulled in, I mean, people who've been at all kind of conventions, and nobody could pinpoint where that particular argument originated. I mean, nobody could pinpoint it. And it made me consider the fact that, okay, if there's no pinpoint of the origin of it, then it may be manufactured just to cause strife and to cause division. Because somebody should be able to go back and point out to, now don't get me wrong, people cannot accurately articulate it. There were guys who accurately articulated why they believed that it was pure flesh and blood. And there's no argument to be made with what they're saying. I mean, they're laying out facts. Boom, 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 boom. You can't argue with facts. But just to get to what drew that line in the sand, or more particularly, who drew that line in the sand, my brain was just like, well, where did the line come from? And nobody's been able to really articulate it. And so anybody from the Bigfoot community that's a creator in the Bigfoot community that ends up watching this video, if you want to hold that discussion with me, I want you to know I will interview you. We will walk back through, because I'm really genuinely interested in understanding why there's that division and where it started. Because if you know how things starts, then you know how to deal with it. You truly know how to deal with it. But if you can't pinpoint where it started, bro, it's just no good. All right. So you guys do meets and greets, right? And you guys have a meet and greet coming up soon that you're going to do. How did you guys choose your location for the meet and greet? What made you guys choose that particular location?
Spencer.
LBL has just been a lot of people have a theory about LBL, and all I can say is I've been going to LBL for years now. I love it. It's a great place. I've personally had a lot of experiences there. A lot of people that I'm very close with have had a lot of activity there. And, anytime you're going to have a meet and greet with a sizable crowd, like in this case, we're probably going to have 100+ people there. You need a fairly big spot. And, LBL checks all the boxes as far as having large enough venue, and there's definitely boogers and possibly other stuff there. So, I mean, that it fit the bill for us for this time.
And how many times have you guys had it there so far?
This will be our first one, but we go to the Beast meet and greets when they hold meet and greets. This is our first year.
First meet and greet. That's going to be awesome, man. And you guys have started marketing it already, or how's the interest so far in it?
Well, I'd say we're probably as full as we can get in there. We was really surprised to have that many people respond, this being the first one that we've done. So,
okay, awesome. Now, I'm going to pause right here.
House, I hope.
Let me see if I can get my face in the camera. So all you people who like Bigfoot not real, Dogman not real, another group of people are going out into the woods to the LBL. You can go experience it for yourself. Instead of commenting in my comments and everybody else's comments, hey, what did you take that picture with? A potato? What kind of camera did you use? You can get off your ass and go to the LBL and actually put your buttocks at risk and prance around in the woods and be bait. You know what I'm saying? And then maybe you can find your answers as opposed to just typing away on the keyboard. I challenge you.
Go to the Facebook
still have
openings for bait.
Huh?
And we still have openings for bait.
Yeah, go ahead and be bait, because that's what I call you. I call you bait, and I don't have no problem letting you know. I want to see somebody, especially one of these smart asses. I want to see them get eaten. I want to see them get chewed on, gnawed on, their bones bitten, and I want to watch it live. I want everybody to watch it. Just sit there and just snap their shoulder out of place, beat their head against a tree, and just eat their brains. And everybody was like, damn, you saw him die? Yeah. That's where I'm at with it at this point in time, because anybody who has sense, they're going to behave a certain way. I want one of them crazy people. You're a liar. You this. Yeah. Go, man. I'll pay you to go.
We got one.
They got a.
You got one? Hold on. You serious? You got somebody that'll go?
Oh, well, we got 100 people that are going, but yeah, we've got one or two that are very willing to, to experience everything that there is to offer. Now I have to say, whenever you get 100 people together, it's your chances are not good of something coming right up to camp, because holy cow, there's 100 humans right there. But there's a couple people that really want to go out and like do calls and actually get in the woods and, go at night and look for these things. And maybe we get a chance to take a couple of them out. And if we do, we'll have cameras running and all that kind of stuff.
Now, I want to send one of them. Oh, you want? Yeah, I'm telling you, I want to send one of them into the place where Dogman really is, into the national forest, in the Daniel Boone National Forest. I want to send them way back up in there, where they do the satanic rituals, they do the sacrifices and everything else, and put up some cameras. So, man, bring your weapon, bring everything. We giving you tents, we giving you everything, dog. You got a satellite phone, you got everything. Stay back there for 3 days. And let's see. I'm talking about where the ticks bite you and you get diseases that kill you. I'm talking about go up in there and let's see how this work out for you, man. That's where I'm at on it. Because at this point in time in the field, that's what we need. We need live bait to get the evidence that we want. Everybody want evidence? We need live bait, fresh meat, just like you find in the prison. Fresh meat. Somebody gonna do it. Somebody crazy enough.
We've been trying to get Spencer to count by himself wearing peanut butter filled underwear, but he won't do it.
Yeah,
that's a terrible idea. That's a terrible idea. That's like telling them go out there with bacon grease on them. Boy, they will get you, but you got that bacon grease on you. Yeah. Man, I'd wear terrible idea.
I'd wear peanut butter before I smear bacon grease. That's sure enough the way to get it.
Yeah, that's the way to get it. In fact, I'm glad we mentioned that. That's going to be one of the things I add to the challenge. We're going to send them out there with a towel soaked in bacon grease, and they're going to have to tie it on their arm as an armband for the whole time. I want to make sure that everybody sees a cryptid, and that's just that, because that's the way to get it, man. And we got plenty of zealots that I believe will go out there. All right, let me stop playing around. Even though I'm serious and I'm not playing, let me move on to the next thing. All right. Let's talk about the channel. What made you guys start the channel itself?
Spencer.
Literally, I made Misty do it. I don't know. Mark Newbill and Larry Porch from Sawdust Beast, which let me say I would recommend Sawdust Beast over my own channel. I mean, please check out Mark and Larry. They're good people. They're honest. They're great at what they do. They have excellent guests. That's where I come from. I went out with them originally. I've been with them ever since. We've been friends. I moderate for their channel and everything. But watching them do the show and just thinking in my head, I see a lot of YouTube shows where I think, man, I would have asked a different series of questions. And I think some of that comes from the fact that we actually go out there looking for these things. So we're not just sitting there doing an interview and we don't know anything about boogers. We go out there as much as just about anybody else and travel, halfway across the country looking for these things. So we have a different perspective. And I saw Mark and Larry do it, and I thought, I'd like to do it too, but I'd like to hit it with a little bit of a different flavor, a little bit funnier, a little bit treating the subject very serious, but we don't take ourselves or the channel very serious. We cut up, we have a good time, we try to just be ourselves. And one of the things that we started out saying, and I think that's true, is that whenever you go out in this field with a lot of people that do this, sitting around a campfire is a completely different thing than whenever you see somebody doing an interview on YouTube. And if you get these people around a campfire, they tell you a lot more stuff and they show you a lot more stuff. They're more open and just relaxed and everything. So we try to approach everything open-minded and just cutting up and having a good time. And, you know, we try to get the details and the important stuff across. But we have different interests as far as, like, you know, we hunt, we fish, we do stuff like camping, wilderness survival. Misty does a whole lot with like wild plants, like as far as medicinals and edibles and everything. I mean, you know, Greg knows a whole lot about everything involved with the outdoor stuff. And, you know, we talk about barbecue sometimes, and, you know, we all bash Alabama white sauce, which Greg loves. And we give Misty crap all the time, you know? And it's just, so we approach it from a little bit of a different point of view, but we're trying to keep the subject real, and we're trying to have a good time while we do it and just be lighthearted about it.
There's nothing wrong with that. You're letting your personality show, and it's the differentiation. It's a way of differentiating yourself from everybody else. That's a smart thing that you do. For me personally, when I started, I made the commitment that I wasn't going to put on airs. I was always going to be who I am, right. Because you don't want an audience to get to know a fake person, and then they have to get to know the real person. So I've always been the same guy from day one. And that's the best way to approach it, because you attract like-minded people and people like you. So, I mean, that's an awesome approach. That's an absolutely awesome approach. Let's spin towards Alabama and Bigfoot in Alabama. I'm not sure the name of the town, because I don't think I remember talking to the gentleman. There's a town, but it's a majority black town in Alabama that has so much Bigfoot activity. It's ridiculous. I mean, but they refuse. When I say they don't want to talk about it, they'll talk about it like on the phone. But bro, they won't. Like if I say, hey man, let me come with a camera crew. No, hell no, we're not doing that. What is it about Bigfoot in Alabama? Have you guys figured out what's going on in that area just in general? Because it seems like there's a super active hotspot for them. And they're aggressive in Alabama for whatever crazy reason.
House?
Well, oh yeah, I'll dive onto the spinning bus tire here. Yeah, I mean, the thing about Alabama is Alabama's got a lot of these things, and that's, you know, here in Alabama, people don't really want to talk about it. It's like a lot of other places, except here, pretty much, if you're not known by a lot of people or relatives with somebody, people are really secretive, and it's been that way forever. I mean, that's just the way we're hardwired. But you now it's kind of getting to where it's not the stigma to it that it once was, and people are more open to sharing with others. I mean, I've saw a major difference in the last just 10 years. But yeah, I mean, I can name off from the Alabama Tennessee line, the North Alabama line, all the way to the Gulf Coast. It won't skip 50 or 60 miles. I mean, I've got friends that have hot spots that they're dealing with these things all the time, year round. They're like, maybe they may go a week or two. You may go 3 or 4 weeks, nothing happened. And then you may have an encounter 3 days in the same week. There's just Alabama, the way Alabama is with the timber, the lay of the land, the rivers, the creeks, the diversity of Alabama. Alabama is unreal at the terrain, how diverse and how much really forest land we've got, and still wild areas. but it's these boogers, like you said, they're not super friendly. Now I hadn't been attacked yet, but I dang sure thought I was going to be several times. But one of my best buddies is, well, really well known in the Bigfoot world, Tim Coonbo Baker. He lives 50 miles north of me. He has stuff all the time. Where I'm at here, 50 miles south of him, and he's really close to Florence. Is where Tim's farm is. Come 50 miles south to where I'm at. Then you go about 100 miles on down south of here. We got Mr. Mark Green, which is another one of our good friends. Then you go down to Mr. Dale Boswell. He's on down 50 miles or so south of him. Then we go on down about another 50 or 100 to Flat Rocks. And then you go all the way down to the state line where we got Miss Bama BF. I mean, that's just working. That's just the ones that I know really well working down the state. And it's crazy. And, Alabama's kind of known as the land of 1,000 rivers. I mean, Alabama, we have massive amounts of rivers, creeks, all kind of watershed. We've got mountains, we got flatland, we got swamps. Alabama, you can have just about any kind of terrain you want to have, and a lot of it's very secluded. So, I mean, that's a lot of what goes with Alabama, but still people want to be tight-lipped. They still that stigma of coming out and talking about it. People are just, it's just us being the way everybody's raised pretty much in Alabama. That's just how it is.
I'm going to show you guys something that I found in my research that I thought was very interesting. If you look at the actual Mississippi watershed and you look at North Alabama, where the main feeder is that feeds a lot of the rivers that go through, you'll notice there's always a bunch of encounters straight through here. And it's crazy. I found this when it goes to Dogman and when it goes to Bigfoot, you will find these encounters being any rural area that these watersheds touch, period. And it's the Mississippi watershed running all the way through, and it's how the water flows out, but you'll find it anywhere along this area. And it's absolutely insane. I tell people all the time, if you're going to look for Bigfoot or Dogman, you get this map. And if you work your way along these rivers, you're going to have an encounter, period. Hands down, there's nothing else to it. And if you get over here in Kentucky, you start getting to Ohio and you go in the wrong area, you ain't coming out of there. You're just not coming out of there. And when you look at the watershed map, and if you plot it against various Bigfoot sightings, I plotted this map against my Dogman sightings. It's literally spotted dots all the way through, boop, 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 everywhere, all the way through. And this is just the watershed map. It doesn't have all the basins that feed off of, like the Red River and all the basins that feed this way, or the Yazoo and all the basins that feed out. It doesn't have all that, but it has the main arteries that you can look at. And that's where I think all this activity comes from. I think the activity is based on them. This is how they move. This is how they feast. This is how they feed. This is how they hide. And it's right there in front of us, but people don't really want to look at it. They just don't. So I figured I'll share that with everybody. So yeah, it's an awesome thing. These things,
they definitely move, in my opinion, from what I've seen, they definitely move along the waterways. And just like on that map that you were just showing, where the Tennessee River comes down through, LBL goes down into North Alabama. And then you have tributaries branching off, going down through it into the national forest and everything. Whenever you find these main watersheds and the tributaries going into national forest land, definitely in there, you're going to have activity. It's just.
Well, they have to have
LBL is in this area. You said the LBL is in the North Alabama area up in here?
No, LBL. Go ahead.
No, the LBL is on the state line from, if you'll notice there where the Tennessee River, it comes out of from like up around Knoxville, Pigeon Forge. It actually runs southwest, and it runs down across Tennessee and comes into the northeastern corner of Alabama, and then it runs nearly due east to west, and then it turns and goes north all the way across Tennessee, and it goes into the Tennessee-Kentucky line. Well, that goes into the LBL. There's 2 lakes. The Tennessee River feeds into the lake on the west side, and it goes from south to north. And then it banks out of that where the 2 lakes come together. It banks over into the Mississippi River, and then they flow south and come out, in New Orleans. But
Yeah. And
looking at a map, the Tennessee River, the way we look at things usually on a map, everybody thinks river or water running downhill. But the way they want to think from north to south, but the Tennessee River absolutely runs south, then it runs west, then north, and then west into the Mississippi. But see, you could get in a boat in Knoxville, Tennessee, and you could go by boat or canoe. You could go all the way from Knoxville, Tennessee, and you could come out in New Orleans.
Wow. Bro, I think this is the key to it right here. When I was put up on this by a guy from National Forest Services, I was like, wow, this is crazy. He's like, James, you need to look at the watershed maps if you want to see the truth. And I was like, okay, let me look at the Mississippi watershed. And I was like, holy crap, there it is. Now, I'll tell you what I found interesting. Let me see if I can make this zoom out. When I started looking for encounters that came from the border straight up, I think this is the 4 corners in it. I'm not sure. I never really did a whole bunch of research. You will find encounters that are Dogman encounters that come from here going straight up all the way to Great Falls. I mean, it's crazy. When I started marketing that area, looking for encounters, took a while to break in and get people to actually trust me, because it's like you're paying people to tell you stories. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I can tell if you tell me the truth or not. And once people opened up and started talking, man, it was insane. And so it's like they have these highways. I'm sorry, I turned the earpiece off. They have these highways that they've created based on the watershed maps. And then the other highways are based on the mountain ranges. And that's where they roll through. And it's really that simple, man. Yeah. It's really that simple.
Well, if you're out hunting or whatever and next to the water, if you think about it, if you travel the waterways, most of the time, it's your easiest place to walk. If it's somewhere that's full of laurel or whatever, that's, really hard to get through. You can always walk the creek beds. Not only that, you got your food there. You got vegetation that grows there whenever it doesn't grow anywhere else on top of the mountain. And if you listen and the water's running, how much stuff do you really hear behind that water? Not a lot, because you hear the water over top of everything else moving.
Yeah. That, talking about Alabama on that map that you're showing, that's showing the Mississippi River and then everything it's draining into it. If you look where what I'm talking about, the Tennessee River, where it goes across Alabama. So where you see Alabama there, you go up, see where it's only showing the blue line across northern Alabama. The reason that line is only right there at the top, where it says Tennessee in blue. All right. Right. See, we're down into Alabama where the blue line is. The reason that line goes east and west or left or right on this map is because just south of that, where I am, we're up on the mountain. That where you're seeing that is the Tennessee Valley part of northern Alabama. But where I'm at, I'm up on the mountainous part of Alabama, and I am in the tail end of the Appalachian Mountains. See, a lot of people think about the Appalachians being, of course, northeast Tennessee, Virginia, down through there, and they're coming on down into Georgia. Well, those mountains actually curl and come all the way across through northern Alabama, really to the edge of Mississippi. And that's the reason all that water that you're seeing on this map, the reason it doesn't go any further down is because you got a mountain elevation that's probably going to be 400 or 500 feet, I guess, or 300 or 400 feet from that river to up here where I am. It's a major jump in elevation all the way across Alabama. So from where I'm sitting right here, if I go about 12 miles north of me, there is actually a ridge line. And if I take 2 steps one way and pour a bucket of water out, it's going to go in the Tennessee River. If I take 2 steps south from there and pour the same bucket of water out, it's going to go down through the center of Alabama and come out in the Gulf of Mexico, but it's going to come out in Mobile Bay. That's where it's going to come out. It's going to come out total different. It's a total different watershed on account of the terrain. But there again, James, on the the sightings, we've looked at it. A lot of the hot spots they coincide with the rivers in Alabama. I mean, it's just like I saw your stuff before online, how you had it overlaid, and it made just a lot of sense to me. But that's yeah, I agree. These things follow rivers. They're going to be really close to them. It's a travel corridor. Well, first off, it gives them a route, and there's not a lot of people on it. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's yes, there is places, there's houses built on it, but still, the steep terrain on a lot of these rivers and creeks and stuff, there's not a lot of people. There's not houses built right on it. It's secluded, it's rough, it's rugged, and I think it just allows them to be hidden more. There we go. Yep, see the mountains there coming into Alabama.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing that I find interesting about this subject. Like when you study the terrain, it gives you all your answers. And for me, it's been, I guess it's the engineer's mind. It's like, okay, we got encounters. We know people are telling the truth. We have multiple encounters from different creators where we have multiple eyewitnesses. So the sampling is across the board. And so, okay, the answer had to be simple. It had to be about the terrain to me, period. It just had to be about the terrain. And then when you start looking into the terrain, it's like, yeah, that's the perfect place. If I was a monster and I wanted to hide and move and not be seen by humans, I would go the path of least resistance as it pertains to humans, because I can't go through a city. I'm going to go through a place where they won't go. And I know I won't run into them. And when I do run into them, it's an off chance. It's a 0.015% chance I'm going to run into a human. And if I run into them, I'm going to eat them because they shouldn't be there in the first place. You know, and that's just how I saw it. And so, yeah, when we get into terrain maps is when you really, really get into how they move. And I love it. I mean, I love that the conversation even goes in that map. That's how I know when people as creators actually know what the hell they're talking about. If they don't know the terrain, they don't understand the waterways, you don't know what you're talking about. You just talking. You know what I'm saying?
I would also
say what's going on.
I would also say that you need to take into consideration, we've been looking a lot at not only the terrain and the waterways, but also cave systems, magnetic ley lines, Native American burial mounds and travel routes. We're trying to understand the thing from a multitude of
Well, here's the freaky thing. The Native American burial grounds are all where they prospered and where they built out civilizations. It was all built on the river basins because that's how they moved goods up and back and forth. And that's what life was. Life was based around water, right? So you're going to naturally run into their burial mounds, their lands when you're in that river area, those river basins. The ley lines thing is something that I toyed around with, but I couldn't really find a good map of them that I could overlay on top of stuff. And that's something that I want to mess around with again. I'm glad you said that. I'm gonna write that down as a note. Because I gave up on it. Because I was like, man, it was hard to find just a map of the ley lines that I could just crop out and just have the lines and then have them laid over the map. And I was like, screw this. I got enough. But they clearly have something to do with it. I'm not sure. What do you guys think? How do you guys think the ley lines play into it?
I don't know. That's more on Spencer there, because I just think that there's a lot of different things affect these things.
I think you have to take into consideration natural, magnetic, and energetic fields and areas that come together. And whether you're talking about anything from putting off vast amounts of negative ions to underground water systems that contribute to kind of an EMF field in the area. All I'm simply saying is that it should be taken into consideration. And whenever I'm looking at it, plotting the stuff that the areas that I know have activity, like moving down the Appalachian mountain train, I can show you stuff from Pennsylvania all the way down to where Mark Green is, of sightings that I believe to be legitimate. The people are very credible. stuff that I've experienced on my own. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, here's a mountain train. And everybody thinks Bigfoot out in the middle of the wilderness and everything. But you got to keep in mind that a lot of sightings are in fairly, rural communities,
Right.
So then you're bringing in the waterways and travel corridors that go through there. And then it's a matter of cross-laying, like, is there cavern systems, cave systems? Is there magnetic ley lines right there? And coming down the Appalachian Mountain Train from Ohio down to North Georgia, there is what most of the maps show as one of the main ley lines coming down there. So I'm almost wondering if it's not something on an energy level. I don't know. I can't back that up. It's a working thesis that I'm looking at while we're doing this, but hey, James, you're muted.
I think it's something that should be explored. I just haven't wrapped my mind around how you explore the magnetic energy component of it. And I haven't run into anybody who's actually dug into it so I can hold a conversation with them and they can teach me and educate me on it. And so I think that's something I should look into. That's another note I'm gonna make. We're gonna find somebody who understands ley lines.
We're trying everything from tuning forks to EMF readers and everything that you can think of that crosses the spectrum of all this stuff.
What, James? Wait, go ahead, Miss.
Go ahead. No,
Well, I was just going to say, look at us. I'm going to holler jinx on you. Anyway, we've even looked at, as like these things are seen a lot around high tension power lines, and are they using it just because it's easy for them to travel? I'm sure that probably plays into it. Most of your high tension lines are secluded and it's a pathway, that they could navigate pretty easy. But we've also looked at, okay, is it something about the electrical field that they're attracted to the power lines? Is it something about that? We've looked at, like goes back to the running water. Supposedly running water, it increases negative ions, especially if it's a waterfall, something like that. But just flowing water can increase negative ions. So are these things maybe attracted to that also? We've tried, like I said, we've tried to jump out of our safety box and really looking at it open to a lot of different ideas to help us maybe come up with a plan or just anything. We're trying to think out of the box because there again, everybody wants to focus on this one little flesh and blood thing. Well, if you're not willing to at least try to listen to an opinion, we don't rule out anything. We want to look for ourselves. And like I said, like they've said before, we're all skeptics. We're skeptics on all this stuff, but we're still open-minded to listen to what somebody else's ideas. And we'll get on and do just a live chat with like us three or another one or two, and we'll bounce ideas. That's when we really dive off into it because we bounce these thoughts from one to the other. And I tell them it's when we have our lightning struck brainstorm. And we really do bounce a lot of things back. We bounce it off each other. And, you got a lot of times 3 or 4 heads instead of one.
No, that's a smart thing to do. I'm telling you, the answers will be found when you can get probably 15 to 20 seasoned field investigators in the room and take all the pretenses away. All it's got to be flesh and blood. It's got to be this. And there's just a brainstorm session. And it's a topic. Okay, how do negative ions affect Bigfoot or cryptids? And then you say, okay, give me your opinion on it. You jot those opinions down. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, what do you think about ley lines? Boom, 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 boom. And then that knowledge base comes together, and then you're going to be able to pluck things out of it that make sense. And then you turn around and research them and figure out what the pieces to the puzzle are and how to arrange them. And it's going to work out. But it has to happen that way because the wealth of knowledge is stored in individuals. It's not like in this field, it's in a book. It's actually stored in individuals who've been out in the field. And once you have that happen, man, it's over. The truth is going to come pouring out. Just like it's clear there's certain criteria that are in nature that increases your chances of having a sighting. We already discussed Native American land, waterways, at the base of mountains, close to Appalachian trails. I mean, there's clear criteria that if you say, okay, if I can find this criteria and spend a week in this area, I'm going to have an encounter. Period. It's evident that that's what it is. So the issue is why? Why do they see it that way? Why do they, the cryptids themselves, use those water routes and use those ways? We can speculate on it. We can't talk to them. But the only way we can get to the truth of that is put out the criteria, go based on that criteria, and spend time there in the woods. I'm not doing it because I'm not getting eaten by monsters and I can't run real fast. So y'all got to go, not me.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll take one for the team.
Yeah, y'all take one for the team, homie. I'm not doing it. I am not doing it. All right,
They
so
always use me for bait.
they always use you for bait.
Yes,
Man, if a monster was going to eat any one of us, it'd be her. She's a lot more appealing. So yeah.
Well, she's not afraid to wander down in the woods. We have to keep an eye on her when we go.
Yeah, she'll do it on her own.
Yeah.
Mental note: Misty is crazy. Gotcha. Thanks, guys. For letting me know. Misty is.
That's why we call her.
That's what it is. She's crazy. All right, let's talk about you guys' Alabama kind of expeditions that you guys coming down the pipeline. Early spring, late fall, early spring. You guys are going to be heading out to Alabama. What's the game plan? Are we taking cameras out in the woods? Are we camping? And what are we doing when we go out there?
Well, at Greg has to live with these things, and that's an important distinction. They're right there at his house, and Greg goes about treating them a little bit different. He can speak to that. So at Greg's, we're just there, and if they come up, they come up. But every time this past year that somebody has gone to Greg's, they have, in one way, shape, or form or another, experienced something. Everything from finding tracks to having rocks thrown to like the stuff that Misty was talking about. Now at Mark Green's property, we're a little bit more open to actually do stuff like calls and try to provoke them. And plus we're in the middle of the woods. At Greg's house, we're staying at a cabin essentially on his property, but the location is ideal. At Mark Green's, we're fairly much in the middle of the woods. So, camping, anytime you got a handful of people camping, if you're in an active area, real good chance that stuff is going to come up and look at you. I hope to get to Flat Rocks this year. I think a couple of us are going to try to do that. Flat Rock has them right there on his property, I do believe. So, we'll probably be trying to entice them with calls and stuff like that. We always had the cameras going. Well, I should say most of the time, and most of the time we have the recorders going, except for whenever we go to Kumbo's, who just walks out and calls them and says, hey, let them know that we're here. And Kumbo goes, whoop. And I kid you not, 3 seconds later, 100 yards away, this thing goes, whoa. I mean, and we didn't have anything going. I was so thunderstruck, I didn't know what to do.
We were getting ready to go out and eat and left all of our equipment and everything in the truck. We didn't know we were even going back there for a second, so we didn't even get anything out.
Yeah, but wow. we normally have stuff going. Yeah.
Do you guys have like an experiment protocol, like things that you try in the sequence and order and take notes on what the results are? So like a whoop, tree knocking, playing calls, tying bacon grease on Misty's fingers and letting her run through the woods. Anything like that?
That sounds like something we should try.
We want to survive. Hell no.
Misty has her own kind of approach, and she can elaborate on that. Sometimes We do calls, but we're careful with the calls because you have to keep in mind, like everybody says, we really don't know exactly what we're saying. The calls are based off of people that grew up with these things, and they have repeated to us, I hear these type of calls at this time of year under these kind of conditions. So we do similar calls like that. Most of us don't really do knocks or clacks. For the most part, that is, in our experience, or in my experience, and a lot of people that I know, the knocks and stuff like that, just like whoops, are kind of like an indicator that, hey, maybe humans are in the area. Don't know that for a fact, but that's kind of how it seems. So I can't really say that you get a lot of results with like wood knocking at night, but at night, after a certain time, maybe after they've already hunted and they're sitting around doing certain calls at certain times of year, certain weather conditions and everything like that, you might get a response depending on the area that you're in and the type of stuff that's happening right then there at the moment. And sometimes it's best just to sit around the fire and play music and cut up and everybody laugh and relax and have a good time. Like at Mark Green's, seems to be like that. Seems like they're going to come in on you, if you're just hanging out and there's only a handful of you. So it's different approaches for different areas, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Gotcha.
James, have you ever heard the old story, the old wives' tale, where like country folks will tell you, don't whistle at night, especially if you're in the woods. Don't whistle at night. There's a reason for that.
Oh, I bet there is.
Yeah.
I'm listening.
Well, whistling, man, I've heard whistles a couple times. I tell you what is freaky is hearing the 300 or 500 pound owl or the birds or the other stuff like a 400-pound crow in the middle of the night. That kind of stuff. It really makes you sit back and think. Like whenever you hear that big owl and it doesn't have a trill on the end of it, instead of the whoo, it's just whoo. Man, and again at Mark Green's, man, we were getting some crazy vocalizations up there, and that was right before a couple of us saw the whatever that shadow was moving between the trees like that. It was man, it'll make you think about it a whole different way. I'm telling you.
That one of the creepiest things for me, y'all, one of the sounds that weirded me out probably as much as any of it was when it sounded like there was 3 or 4, something as big as a horse. It was breaking limbs, like you had horses chasing each other, stampeding through a pine thicket. And I'm hearing them go back, like run 100 yards to the left, then they're going back to the right, and then up the hill and down the hill, and they're just going zigzagging. But as they're breaking these limbs, I'm hearing what sounds like children. It sounds like children giggling and laughing, and it sounds just like kids were playing a game of tag. And I'm over a mile from anything, off in the middle of the forest, down on some of my cousin's land, but it's all grown up woods, and there's a field that I hunt, a big field. And this grown up pine thicket is full of briars and honeysuckle vines. And I'm listening to these things crash through this, and they're just running all over. And this is right before dark, and it's like 20 something degrees. This is hunting season. I'm in here with a high-powered rifle trying to kill a deer, and I'm hearing something, and it's bipedal. I can tell they're bipedal. They're not far. They're 120, 30 yards from me, and it's running all through this thicket. I mean, it's breaking limbs. It's pulling vines, and it sounds like horses running through there, but it's bipedal. But it's giggling like little kids. It's giggling and laughing. And it sounds just like what I'm envisioning. It sounds like kids playing tag on a playground, and I'm in the middle of nowhere, and I'm hearing these things. And the only thing I can come up with is it was some small boogers, some little ones, and they're absolutely playing like kids would play. because that's
Having
what it
fun.
sounded like. It sounded like I was hearing a game of tag being played.
Wow. That would freak me out, bro. When I tell you that
Oh,
would
yeah.
freak me out, I'd be like, nah, I'm out of these woods. They got monster kids running around, breaking tree limbs. And you know that means the parents somewhere close around. You know what I'm
That was
saying?
my biggest fear. That was one of my biggest fears. Yes, I was. Yeah, it's time to go.
That's insane. That's insane. All right, guys, we're coming up on an hour and 15 minutes. We're gonna cut it off right here. Let's quickly walk through where people can find you. The channel is Woodwalkers on YouTube. Do we have a podcast yet? Have you guys put this show out in a podcast format yet? Y'all got a lot of work to do, man. Y'all got to get on your game.
We're late, James.
No, y'all got to get on your game. What else? Where's the social media? Is it Facebook, YouTube? Is it Twitter? What do you guys got?
Just Facebook and YouTube for right now. It's
Okay.
Woodwalkers with a Z on the end. Walkers has a Z on the end.
Walkers. All right, and so if somebody wanted to come to the meet and greet at the LBL, which I think all the smart asses who want to go out into the woods should go to the meet and greet. How do they sign up to go to the meet and greet?
I want you to come to the meet and greet. I'll come down there and drive you
I
up
ain't going
myself.
out in the damn woods. That ain't happening. That's no.
It'll be fun.
If they,
Hell no.
Yeah.
Hey,
Black dude never survived horror movies. My black ass will not survive the horror movie. I'm not doing it. Done. Not happening.
hey,
I'm telling you.
look here, James, brother. I'm right. When it goes down, I'm gonna be gone. I go big. I go armed. But look, I know when it's time to go.
I know not to go. That's how you stay out of all them problems.
Uh,
I know not to go. I don't have no problem telling anybody that. People used to be like, well, Dog Waters, you need to have more encounters. Hell no. I don't need to have nothing. You can go and I can tell you a story, but I ain't doing it. I ain't no.
we will report back when it's over.
Yeah, I don't want nothing to do with it. But there people should sign up on Facebook. How do they sign up to come to the event so we can make sure we get some more people going out there in the woods to use as bait?
I mean, for the most part, we're running it kind of loose. If they want, the best way to guarantee, because we only have X amount of spots and they are mostly filled up at this point. But the best way is to reach out to us on Facebook. You can message us individually. You can go to the Woodwalkers Facebook page. We have a separate page for the meet and greet. But if you just get on the regular Woodwalkers Facebook page, you can find it. If anybody has any questions, they can hit us up in chat on YouTube and we'll direct them to it or whatnot. But we have to a degree, we have to keep it kind of controlled, just from the sense of, protecting the people that are going to be there and trying to prevent, jerks and hoaxers and everything else, so we won't give the exact location away unless
There's game wardens through every day too checking, and you're only allowed so many vehicles and so many people. And if it gets out of control and we've got people just parking, blocking roads and stuff like that, that could cause
well, luckily for us, there'll be more than just me there. That's law enforcement, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I mean, we ain't got no problem. We ain't got no problem policing the crowd if I need to. Look, I may be out of state, but I'm a sworn officer. I still know how to thump somebody on the head if they don't act right.
And it's a private campground that we've rented, so technically we're in charge of who gets in and who doesn't. It's on our say so.
But
so
we're definitely
the easiest
open to people, yes.
Do what?
But I said we're definitely open to people, checking out the page if they want to try to come to it.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
In other words, let me translate what they're saying to you. You're welcome to come, but don't act a damn fool because you're going to get thumped in the head. There's limited spots. So get in now while you can. You may have to be on a waiting list. And if you act a fool, you're going to get thumped in the head and tied up to a tree. It's bait. That's what they're saying in a polite way. I'm just going to boil it down. That's what's going down out here in these LBL streets.
Yeah.
You're going to die. You're going to die if you act a fool. They're going to feed you to the Dogman or feed you to the Bigfoot. That's what they say.
we welcome anybody as long as they want to act right. I mean, they don't even have to agree with us. They don't even have to agree with us. They just, just be respectful about it. That's all we ask anybody to do.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a complete skeptic and don't believe in any of this, hey, come out there, meet us in person, see what we're looking at. Can't guarantee that anything will happen there with 100 people, but man, I would welcome anybody that wants to come, especially the skeptics. Come out and talk to the people, and let them go through and explain this stuff in person, and come look at the stuff that we're looking at.
I'll just be honest with you, and this is going to sound crazy, and they're going to think this is crazy. I would wait 10 to 1. I'd rather the biggest skeptic out there. I'd rather the biggest skeptic have an encounter as somebody that's a believer. I really would. Because look, I promise you, if you have one of these encounters like I've had, you'll go from skeptic to believer instantaneous. You'll be over on our side going, hey, look, I was that skeptic, but let me tell you what happened. Because I have changed some people that's been in the woods with me that were skeptics that wanted to laugh about it. Yeah, some of those skeptics now won't even go back in the woods up here. They won't. They're like, y'all know what's in them woods, and y'all keep going back. It's like, yeah, y'all crazy as hell. They something on with y'all. Y'all going back in them woods? No, they won't go back. So, like I said, I'd rather convert a skeptic as I had anything. That's where it's at. And I brought it up on one of the shows I did last night. People want to talk about the evidence that they want, the evidence that they don't have that they want. All I ask people to do, look at the evidence that there is. Start looking into that evidence, the evidence that is there, the ironclad evidence that is here. Look at that and just have an open mind. And the more you research, if you'll just be honest about it, just go in it open and look at the evidence that's there and start stacking that up. You'll see a pattern, and that stuff will start adding up. And then it's finally going to weigh on you that, wait a minute, all these people ain't making this up. There's no way that many people's making it up. Well, I got news for you.
There are people that makes it up. So everybody, not everything is Bigfoot. So y'all know.
That's right. I agree, Misty. There's people out here that want to blow smoke up people's butt and whatever. But here's the deal. If you've got, let's just say you had 500 people. You had 500 people and 499 of them are making it up. If one of them ain't, if that one is die hard telling the truth, well, what's that tell you? That means it's still real. If you got 499 bold-faced liars, if there's one that's telling the truth, okay, there you go. And it's doctors, lawyers, policemen, politicians, rabbis, preachers, whatever, any walk of life, any little kids, old people, whoever's word that you would believe. You want somebody that does nothing but stay in his mama's basement and play on a video game. Well, guess what? He may have to go out and get the mail one day and the booger man nearly got him. Well, odds are we could find one of them gamers that's had experience. We could find somebody that's, whatever, just name it. Odds are there's somebody out there that's going to fit your criteria of the person that you would believe. And it may not be that you'd ever believe anybody but yourself. But there again, have you been in a place where these things were? Have you ever had an opportunity to even be in the same area where these things were? I don't know. But just all I ask people, if you don't agree with me, that's fine. Just be respectful. We can talk about it. You can even laugh at me. I don't care. But just you don't have to be disrespectful to disagree with somebody. And I think that's the biggest problem is people just being disrespectful, because everybody's got different ideas. Everybody's got different views. Everybody on this screen has lived a total different life than the other person next to them on here. But we find, if everybody looked for a common ground, the whole world would be a whole lot better place.
And nobody's experiences are the same.
You're right.
No, I 100% agree with you guys. And that's a good place to leave off at. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have spent time with the Woodwalkers with a Z. and it has been phenomenal. And so now you know where to go. I need you to go on over, subscribe, listen, hang out with them. I'm telling you, it's a ball being on their show, and it's a ball hanging out with them. I've been a little bit more structured and rigid than they are. They just sitting there clowning, laughing, joking, bada bing, bada boom. I enjoyed myself. And I'm telling you, if you're looking for the softer side of the Bigfoot conversation, cryptid conversations, where you can really just kick back and not feel like, oh my God, am I going to say the wrong thing? This is the place to go. It really is. It's the people to hang out with. So check them out. Woodwalkers with a Z, not a S. And subscribe, ladies and gentlemen. All right. I love you all. I appreciate you. And I will see you soon. We got many, many more interviews coming down the pipeline. A lot more. So just be prepared to be getting a lot of information. Peace out.
Thank you.